Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello everyone and welcome to your English class. In our lesson today, we will continue with our fourth unit, which is titled The Art of Advertising. Our lesson today is Language in Context, in your books on page 58. All you need for the lesson today is your books, page 58, a sheet of paper and a pen to take down your notes. So let's get started. Before we start, we will go over what we have taken in the previous lesson, the passive voice. We said in English, we start an active sentence with subject, verb, then followed by the object. Who did the action to whom? So, an example sentence is, engineers make the car. The verb here is make, and it is a verb in the present tense. And here we're trying to highlight who does the action. They are the engineers. If I want to change it into a passive voice, we will start the other way around. We will start with the object. So, object, verb to be. So we will make a difference between this active and passive. Verb number 3, and always verb number 3, then the subject. And this one, by the way, is optional. You can use it and you can take it out. So we start with the object. The car then is made by the engineer. And the verb to be is always important in the passive voice because it indicates the tense, is made. Because the action verb is always in verb number 3, the past participle form of the verb. Let's check the other one in here. Engineers made the car. Notice the verb is in the past. So we will start with the object. The car was made by the engineers. So was because the action verb is in the past. One more in here. Engineers will make the car. It is in the future tense. Will make. Start with the object. The car will be made. Notice, here is the action verb and we have added be. Will be made by the engineers next year or in future. How about the present perfect? Engineers have made. This is the verb, have made. We'll start with the object. The car has been made. Perfect, and this is the be and made by the engineers. Always make sure that you can take out the subject, which is the engineers in this case. Okay. Now, in your workbooks, page 110, complete the paragraphs with the verbs in parentheses. Use the correct form of the passive. So all the times, we're going to use the passive. Present, past, or future. Here, before the 20th century, so before, it means in the 19th, in the 18th century, so we're speaking about the past. Advertising wasn't very important. Since most things, here we're speaking about things, past, verb to be, verb number 3. So, were made at home, or the things by, were bought from small or local stores. But by the 1900s, here, still speaking in the past, many things produce. Past things were produced in factories, and also sell, which are the products or the things, were sold to people who live far from the factories. Through advertising, people tell in the 20th century, or yes, in the 20th century, people were told. Where? Because we're having here people. We're told about these products. Today. Now here, we are in the present tense. Today, a lot of money spent on research for advertising. Money, singular, so we will use is spent. Is spent on research for advertising. Let's continue. Before companies launches its ads, the ads, we're speaking about things that we do nowadays, show so are shown. Not one, more than one, show, so shown. Are shown to many people. If people don't like the ad, it's not launch. We will use the future in here because it is an F conditional type 1. So they won't be launched. Will not be, and verb number 3. Here we have verb number 3. For some time now, still speaking in the present, many questions, notice, not one question, many questions, present, are asked about the effect of advertising. Now it is a question. We will start with a question, so we need a helping verb. People's attitude and values by advertising. So have people's attitude and values, we will use affect, been affected. Have they been affected by advertising? And if so, how? In the future, now we will use the will. In the future, even more time and money, we will use will, passive, will be spent on advertising. Even more questions about the effects of advertising, ask, future will be asked, and it will be important to find some answers. Just notice the tense, present past, future or present perfect, will be, or use the suitable verb to be, present past or future. Okay, for our lesson today, it's going to be in the language in context part, in which we will be able to test general knowledge. I will ask you general knowledge questions about, let's say, inventions this time, and you will come up with the answers. We will make them in the present, in the active and the passive voice. Then you will use some new vocab. We will get to know some new words. So let's get started on your book's page 58. So it's a quiz or a test, a contest, let's say, for general knowledge. How educated, how much information do you know? Let's start with these. We're having here names for inventors, for explorers, and the other side are the inventions. So, Hassan Kamel Al-Sabbah, Ibn Sina, the Chinese, Al-Zahrawi, Ladislaw Beiro, and Alexander Graham Bell. We're having here many inventions. So what did he do? Hassan Kamel Al-Sabbah. If you want to make your own research, you can do. Hassan Kamel Al-Sabbah was responsible for the original solar cell. The original solar cell, it's a kind of a cell that will use the solar power to come up with energy, maybe light, charging your phone, or any other thing. How about Ibn Sina? And I guess you all familiar with Ibn Sina. He is a Muslim, and he authored the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine. So he was a doctor, a physician, and he wrote that book. He was the author of that book. Then the Chinese people, they are responsible for which invention? For the ice cream. The ice cream that we eat today, the Chinese invented it. Al-Zahrawi, he is a Muslim scientist. What did he do? He is responsible for surgical instruments. If we're having a surgeon, a doctor, all the tools that they will use, who's responsible for them? Al-Zahrawi. Ladislaw Beiro, he's responsible for something that we use every day. He is responsible for the ballpoint pen, the point that you use, not the pencil, the pen that we use and to write your homework or anything. He is responsible for. Alexander Graham Bell is responsible for the telephone. The invention of the phone, Alexander Graham Bell is responsible for. Let's try to match them in here. The ice cream was invented, as we have mentioned, it was invented by the Chinese 4,000 years ago. which tense is it in here? We have started with the ice cream itself. Is it the subject? No. It is the object actually. So we will change it into an active voice. We will start with who does the action. So we will start with this is the subject after the by the Chinese. So the Chinese invented the ice cream 4,000 years ago. This is the subject, here is the verb, and the ice cream is our object. Notice that we have used was here because invented is in the past, 4,000 years ago. One more. And here, the first camera obscura was devised. Who devised it? Who invented it or started it? It was invented by Ibn al-Haytham. It was invented. So the camera that we use today, the first invention was made by Ibn al-Haytham. This is the object, the thing that was done, and Ibn al-Haytham is the subject. Subject, verb, and object. Let's put it in the correct order. Ibn al-Haytham devised the first camera obscura. He's the subject. He did the action which is devised, and camera obscura is the object. And notice, devised, that's why we have was, past and past. One more. Surgical instruments that are still being used were devised or invented. They were came up by whom? Who did them? He is in the 10th century by al-Zahrawi, a Muslim surgeon. He is a physician, a surgeon. So we will come up with, so we're speaking about the surgical instruments. This is the object. And who did the action? He is al-Zahrawi, which is the subject. Let's put it in the correct order, subject, verb, and object. Al-Zahrawi devised the surgical instruments that which we use today. He did the action and to the objects. So devised, that's why we were having here where. We're having where. One more. The original solar cell was invented and tested by whom? Who made it? In the past, by Hassan Kamil al-Sabbah in 1930. What did he do? He came up with the original solar cell. So this is the object, and he did the action. He is the subject. Notice, was for the past. So let's use the subject, verb, object order. So Hassan Kamil al-Sabbah invented and tested the original solar cell. Subject, verb, notice the ed, and this is the object. He did what? One more. The law of gravity was discovered by whom? Who discovered the law of gravity? He was under the tree, then he was hit, or an apple fell on his head. So he was by Isaac Newton. So he is the one who did the action to the law of gravity. Let's put it in an active voice, subject, verb, and object. So we will say Isaac Newton discovered the law of gravity. Here's the subject, what he did, and to the law of gravity discovered. That's why we have used was in here. One more. Radiology was discovered. Who discovered radiology? She was by Marie Curie in 1903. What did she do? She discovered what? Radiology. And who is she? She's Marie Curie. In an active voice, we can tell. If we care much more about the subject, we will say Marie Curie discovered radiology. She did the action. And notice the ed because it is in the past, 1903. One more. The telephone was invented. Who invented the telephone? By Alexander Graham Bell in 1876. This is the object. It was invented by whom? Alexander Graham Bell in the past, 1876. The active voice, so we can say Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. He did, here, he did the action. Invented because we have, it is in the past, 1876. Also, the first printing press was made. Who made it? It was made in 1440. There is no mention for whom, for the people who did it, but it happened in the past. Subject, verb, and object. In 1440, people made the first printing press. Subject, anonymous. Then here we have the verb, and the first printing press is the object. What did they do? They came up with, or they made the first printing press to photocopy things. The ballpoint pen was made famous. Who made it famous? Who make it popular and everyone used it? By the Hungarian Ladislav Biro. So we're having this as the object, was done by the subject, and made famous as the verb. To come up with the active sentence, we will start with the Hungarian Ladislav Biro made the ballpoint pen famous. He did the action to whom? To the object. Here one more, the last one, the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine. Let's say the book was authored. Who was the writer of that book? He is by Ibn Sina, 980, 1037, a Muslim philosopher, physician, and a scientist. If we come up with the sentence in the active, who is he? Ibn Sina authored the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine. He authored the book. He wrote the book. Ibn Sina did the action to the book. So this is how to change from passive into active. Just go over your answers. How many answers have you came up and they were right? If you're having 9 to 10 answers right, so you will say, I am a good I have good information or general knowledge. However, if you have less, 8 to 6, you have 4, let's say, to 2 mistakes, you have good knowledge. And if you have less, 4 to 5 answers or 6 answers were wrong, so you need to read more and educate yourself much more. However, if you have 0 to 3 answers right, your mistakes are higher than you must read more and educate yourself. The more you read, the more general knowledge you will gain. Let's go back to this idea, which is the active and the passive. We said that Marie Curie discovered radiology in 1903. We've got all the information that we need. The subject, she is the subject. Discovered is the verb in the past, and the radiology is the verb. Here, I want to focus much more. I don't care who did this. All I want to know is the date and what happened in that date. So I will take out the subject. I will say that radiology was discovered in 1903, and you can take out the name. This is the object. We started with past because it is in the past, and 1903. Let's try to do one more. Ibn Sina authored the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine. Here is our subject, here is the verb and the past tense, and the name of the book is our object. I want to focus on the book. So I will say, the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine was authored, maybe in this or that date. You can mention and you can take out the subject. One more in here. Isaac Newton discovered the law of gravity. Let's come up with the subject, then verb, and here is the object, discovered. I don't want to mention the subject. What would I say in here? The law of gravity was discovered by Isaac Newton. This is the object. This is was, because I have here it is in the past, and was discovered. By whom? By Isaac Newton. There were some words that were mentioned while we were testing your general knowledge, like the word invent. When you invent something, what do we mean by invent? He invented something. When you invent is when you create or design. But the most important thing, it is something that hasn't been existent before. You will create it. You will not find it. You will do it yourself from scratch. It wasn't there, and you will come with it. Like the idea of the telephone. It was invented. No one ever thought about the idea of communicating with someone who is away from the same room. However, Alexander Graham Bell came with that one. Like Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Before Thomas Edison, we only have the sunlight. However, after Thomas Edison, he came up with the idea. Also, we came up with the idea of discover. What is the difference between to discover and to invent? To discover is to find something. It is there. No one knows about it, then you will find it. So, to be the first to find or observe. Finding or observing something. Fleming discovered the penicillin in the 20th century. The penicillin was there. However, no one knew anything about it, and he found it. He discovered it. Then the idea of books, which is to author. Author is a noun and a verb. We will work with it as a verb. To author, be the author of a book or a piece of writing is to write. To write your own book. Like Ibn Sina when he authored the book. To author, she has authored several articles on wildlife. She has written, authored. Authoring, to be the author of something or to write. So let's try to use them. Invent, discover, and we have authored. Christopher Columbus, what did he do to the Americas? He invent, discover, or author. He actually discovered. How about bicycles? They were invented. They were not there in the past. However, in 1790s, it was invented. It wasn't there, and it was invented. He authored many books. He is a famous writer. The book writer and the book, he will author it. He will write this or that. Now let's try to do an exercise from your workbooks, page 114. Here, which product or brand names do you associate with these slogans? I will give you the slogan, or let's say the advertisement. It's a word, a very short sentence. Then, what will come to your mind when I say it? Here we have think fast. It is associated with, if I hear think fast, I will say it should be a smartphone or a laptop. The computer thinks fast, and the laptop, and also the smartphone. Think crunchy, crispy. What is it? For me, I would think about biscuits or crisps. Maybe a biscuit, or it is a cookies, or it could be crisps or chips, something that is crunchy. How about style outside, power inside? Something that looks good and powerful by itself. It could be a car. It could be as well a motorcycle, a car or a motorcycle. Anything that looks good and it's powerful. One more. We sell more cars than any other makers. Selling cars. It could be an advertisement for a car dealer or a model car company, someone who tries to sell cars. We sell more cars than any other ones. One more. There is no comparison. You can't compare us with anyone. It could be anything. I have thought here about a soft drink, maybe soda. I have also thought about shoes. No comparison. Ours are much more comfortable. What about time is nothing? Time is nothing. If you are trying to sell watches, cell phones, or it is an airline, time is nothing for us. One more. Life, live your life. Where to live your life? Live your life, a soft drink, a vacation, holidays, or it could be a hotel. Live your life in this hotel. One more. Smooth and reliable. What is the thing that is smooth and reliable? The first thing that comes to my mind, a printer. The printing is smooth and reliable, and also a car. When you are riding it, it is very smooth and reliable. I can trust it. For your homework, refer to your workbooks, page 115 in your workbooks, exercise J in your workbooks. I guess that is it for the lesson today, and thank you so much for your time.